My Hero Vigilantes episode 3 is here, and right out of the gates it seemed like they were making some changes with the anime because we get to see Koichi at school. While in the manga, we had Present Mike explaining Vigilantism. They probably would have needed to get his voice actor just for this one scene, so they decided to change it up. I think this was a good change, but some of the later ones are a bit more questionable. Koichi went home and found a random man eating food and watching the game at his house. Getting Goldilocks doesn't sound fun, especially when the guy looks like he could take a bear in a fight. This was obviously Knuckleduster, but since Koichi didn't recognize him, that just goes to show how effective a simple mask can be. And the way KD let himself in was hilarious. Somehow, that was the last thing to come up, and he wasn't even the one to bring it up. Next, it was Pop Step's turn. She pulled a Clark Kent with her hair and glasses. Now, aside from showing up uninvited, the way they casually revealed their identities to one another was a major display of trust. Especially since, as far as Koichi's aware, they haven't known each other for all that long. But man, Koichi is seriously too kind. He patched up the window Knuckleduster broke without even complaining. Knuckleduster mentioned being off from work, and Koichi would have never guessed that the guy had a job in the first place. At some point, Pop Step installed a curtain that designated her own personal space. She even yelled at Knuckleduster for putting his coat there. He argued that it's a communal space, but both of them seem to ignore the fact that it's Koichi's home. Although he just came back, Koichi had to leave for work. Now, like most people who hate their jobs, Koichi was busy thinking about how things should have been going. It turns out that Koichi's social life is in tatters. He doesn't have a single friend at school. But you could argue that if he had any, the whole secret identity and vigilante thing would be a lot harder to maintain. Now here is where they actually cut out several scenes from the manga. In that version, although Koichi mentioned going to work, we don't actually see him go there. Instead, Koichi left them a spare key. Pop Step also asked him to borrow a towel for after a show so she could wipe away her sweat, which let him know that she would be having another show. He let her have one, but he also told her that she can use his shower too. When she called him creepy for saying that, he was reminded of how wrong everything turned out to be. He mentioned how he paid 45,000 yen, which is just over 300 USD right now, for what was supposed to be a penthouse near the train station. Instead, he wound up with this rundown place on top of an abandoned building that was just waiting to be demolished. Still, Koichi decided to make the best of it and take care of his new place. He expected to have friends over since he lives close to school. He expected his upperclassmen to be adults, so he made sure to stock up on beer that he himself couldn't even drink. He even kept a spare key in case he ever landed himself a girlfriend. And while the anime doesn't explain why Koichi didn't have any friends, the manga totally did. He did manage to hang out with some upperclassmen after they had some drinks. They wanted somewhere to relax, so Koichi told them that his place was nearby. Everyone agreed to go, and the girls were actually excited. Then they saw the old building he wanted to take them to. He totally missed their hesitation and ended up looking pushy. They all ran off and started avoiding him, but he was totally oblivious. After that, horrible rumors about him being a creeper spread like wildfire. Now that his college debut was a complete failure, Koichi's place suddenly felt much bigger. Too big. He was lonely. I don't know about you, but that sounds like good stuff to me, so why would they cut this? I mean, it explains a lot and gives more depth to Koichi's emotions. Well, I think the answer might be for the next scene. Pop Step held another street concert at seemingly the same location as the first time. So these cops just really don't do their jobs. It seems like the anime decided to focus on Pop Step's singing. In the manga version, it was really quick and she mostly just hyped up the crowd. Now, thinking about this from a production standpoint, I guess I understand it. They already paid for Pop Step's music, so they might as well use it repeatedly. And although the anime didn't preserve the fine details, we still get the gist of Koichi missing out on his social life. Now, Pop Step's smallest fan in the crowd really wanted to shake her hand. So he tried cutting ahead of the pack, and failed. Wolverine and Cyclops were there to teach him the ways of being a proper Idol fan. But the little weirdo was a trigger junkie and decided to shoot up. I can't tell what age he's supposed to be. Regardless, he turned into a slimy eel monster. And I tell you what, this is the kind of content that kept me away from Vigilantes early on with the manga. I was not that interested in this story because they were going crazy. I mean, come on now, this man was spreading his slime across the city. Like, who let Mineta write the story here? Absolutely out of pocket. Crazy, crazy content. This man was too slippery to punch, so they had to go to the udon shop to get some flour. Now, eventually, the instant villain caught up to Pop Step. And as gross as this eel guy is, thankfully his coloring and the presentation of these scenes isn't as unsettling as in the manga. So the anime definitely got some things right. But since Koichi's offer from earlier was cut, Pop Step's request of a bath lost a bit of its humor. And the same goes for her complaint about his cheap shampoo. Now that seemed far enough, but Knuckleduster was getting crazy comfortable. Old boy was down to his drawers wondering why they were out of beer like he put some in there in the first place. And he had the nerve to tell Koichi to stock up. He even started smoking in there. Now I want to give this guy the benefit of the doubt because he is a proper adult when he wants to be. I'm gonna assume that this is for the sake of testing Koichi's limits, seeing how far he can push him. But for as obnoxious as they were being, in the end, Koichi was happy to have them. Now, his place wasn't so big anymore. Although you don't really get the point of that because they cut the scene. Anyways, after all that, we have Detective Tsukauchi discussing the trigger case. The suspicion being that the spread of the drug is just a part of a bigger scheme. Which brings us to even more cutscenes. In the manga, we see the eel kid being released from police custody. Tsukauchi used it as an opportunity to tail him, which is intended to coincide with the fact that Koichi and Pop Step are treating the kid like their best lead too. Along the way, Koichi and Pop Step met Hachisuka, and you already know from the character design that she is important. They tried to leave Knuckleduster out of their investigation, but he was already ahead of them. They tried to leave him in the dark, but it turns out that he's been doing that to them all this time. Hachisuka ended up bailing on her friends after a bee crawled beneath her eye patch. This scene is great because of how disturbing it makes her out to be. And the lighting here really sets the tone. Her designation as a part-time villain is also interesting. I doubt the police would see it the same way. But her being the cause of a mass instant villain outbreak is some pretty crazy stuff. I could totally see that being a major event for even the main series. Funny enough, Ash and Pikachu were in town. Horikoshi already liked adding parody characters to the main series, and Vigilantes takes it to the next level. Now, since they cut Tsukauchi's involvement, they ended up adding a scene of him at the office requesting for heroes to be sent out. But compared to him actually being there undercover, living up to his name as Truth Man, and requesting emergency hero support, this pen-pushing office version is kinda lame. But then there's something that I doubt anyone really cares about as much as I do. Airjet was one of the first heroes on the scene. Now, this guy was also one of the first pro heroes we ever saw in My Hero Academia. Literally page 2 of chapter 1. Back in the day, he was a strong part of my argument for why Deku never needed a quirk to be a hero in the first place. The jetpack that Deku's team used during the cavalry battle of the sports festival was based on Airjet's backpack. And bonding over that helped Deku become fast friends with Hatsume Mei, who ended up being involved in a bunch of his support items from then on. Airjet's agency used to be in Deku's neighborhood when he was growing up. So while All Might was his favorite hero overall, Airjet was his favorite local hero. And this just happens to be the best look at him we have ever had in the anime. Ida's older brother is here too, but he got the CG treatment. Now a bunch of heroes hit the scene. And it mostly boils down to, hey, these are the characters we're gonna use for this series. But with that in mind, it's interesting to me that the anime added 2 extra heroes. One that looks like an armored hero, and the other looks like a monkey man. I have no idea who or what they're supposed to be. Maybe they'll end up being some anime original characters for some extra content, kinda like how Selkie was one. And eventually, Horikoshi added him to the manga too, which ended up setting the precedent for the movie characters to do the same. Now listen, these heroes were putting belt to ass over here. I mean, the adaptation was great, they just took the manga and made it look better. But let us not forget that these are supposed to be innocent victims. They didn't ask to be juiced up, they got attacked by a bunch of bees. In the last episode, Koichi was talking about heroes getting in trouble for using excessive force. Well, this man Death Arms over here is living up to his name. He was hitting that Donkey Kong down special on some poor innocent soul. Then here comes All Might from the heavens above with a Texas smash. So not only does this man end up looking like the blueberry girl from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory against his will, but the greatest hero of all time had the nerve to pose with this man's naked and unconscious body over his head. Now, if I was this man, you could forget about All for One. After I'm done suing the city, I'm suing All Might into retirement myself. And the same goes for the rest of these aura farming bot employees around him. The disrespect is diabolical. Meanwhile, Knuckleduster was in hot pursuit, but ended up hitting a dead end. There's definitely a side to this trigger war that Koichi and Pop Step are totally in the dark about. I appreciate you guys pulling up to have some fun with these videos. In the comments, please let me know what you think about the changes to the anime. Usually these sorts of deviations aren't that well received, so I'd love to know what you think. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.